Hey everyone, and welcome back to this very spontaneous episode of Content and Chill. And the reason why I'm saying spontaneous is because it is almost 9 o'clock at night right now. I was 100% not prepared or planning to be recording an episode right now, but I have a bit of a story time for you, which is going to lead into what I'm talking about. And so, what I have been working on today in my business is I have been doing a lot of refinement. And that is specifically, I have been going back through my email sequences. And this is something really, I've been doing this for like the past month or so. I've been doing a whole lot of refinement in a whole lot of different places. But today specifically, I was spending a lot of that time in my welcome sequences and in my like freebie delivery sequences as well. And I've known for a while that they need to be updated. I haven't really updated them a whole lot since I put them out. Like at this point, like almost 2 years ago. So I was going back through my welcome sequence here today and I've been like, okay, what can I update here? What can I refresh? And I was like, damn, Anna, like, actually, this stuff is really good. Like, it's from 2021, but it's still really good. And essentially, what I was doing in my welcome sequence was I had made that sequence like 7 emails long. I made it very drawn out that way because I knew at that time in my business, I was not going to be coming in frequently to my, email family, to my email realm and sending a lot of like, weekly newsletters or monthly newsletters, anything like that. So I was like, I know that I want to have a longer drawn out welcome sequence and that'll keep everyone entertained, have value during that time frame. And I'm sure within the 3 months that these emails are going out, I will then at some point have popped in and sent a, normal newsletter, so to say. So I was repurposing the Instagram lives that I was doing, and those were going into my email sequence. And that is what I'm here to talk to you about today, is these Instagram lives. I did a series back then called Coffee and Content, and that was me trying to get more comfortable showing up on video, and it was live video as well. And how I like started trying to do that was I was doing like a whole introduction series, so to say, into content repurposing. So every Friday I was showing up at like 10:30 in the morning, doing like a quick live on all of these different topics, introducing everybody to content repurposing. And coming back to today, I was going back through those lives and I was like, Anna, you really haven't talked about any of this stuff much since then. Now, granted, when I did those lives back then 2 years ago, I repurposed the shit out of them. I did the Instagram live. That was what my like content creation framework was back then. I would do a live and then all of my content would be repurposed from that live. So I would make a blog post from the live, I would make an email from the live, and then I would make a couple different Instagram posts from the live. And that's how I was repurposing my content. And so I definitely got a lot of content and a lot of juice out of those lives that I was doing, but I haven't talked about that stuff like definitely at all this year. I know I for sure haven't talked about any of those topics at all this year. And so I was kind of playing back and forth with, well, could I just repurpose these lives, like scrap out the audio, have that be some things that I talk about on the podcast? But I was like, no, Anna, because you have learned so much more since you put out these and you did these lives 2 years ago. Like you have so much more and so much new information to add to them. So that is why I'm here right now, 9 o'clock on a Thursday, doing this for you. I'm not, if you're watching here on YouTube, you can see I'm not like really done up or anything. Like I was just literally doing the dishes from dinner. And then I was like, I can't say that I'm going to do this tomorrow. I've been spending all day long doing things in my business. Tomorrow I have more client-based things to do, so I'm not going to be in the same like head frame to be able to sit down and do something for my business. That's just not the way that my brain works. So that is why we are here right now. And I want to now bring this series to the Content and Chill podcast, all introducing content repurposing, because I didn't realize I didn't really do that here at the beginning once I started the podcast. I definitely just assumed everyone was on the same wavelength of content repurposing that I was, which I think is something that we all are guilty of doing within our niche. Like things that we are really good about and things that we are really passionate about, we just assume that everyone also knows those things. Like the things that come basic to us, we assume that that's basic for everyone, but that is not always the case. So my plan for the podcast right now is to have this like content repurposing introduction basics, so to say, series to get you up to speed, maybe with where I have been at, so to say. So today I will be going all into content repurposing one-on-one. So that'll be what even is content repurposing, like what types of content you can repurpose, what business owners like are primed to be able to repurposing their content, and like the power of what content repurposing can do for your business. And I'm kind of laughing a little bit because I just can't believe that this idea never came to me before when I was starting the podcast. Like I just went ahead and dove right in with all of the things without like really easing into it or like giving a good baseline for anything. And I'm not like shitting on myself like past Anna whatsoever, because I love the episodes that I've put out. And it was meant to be for me to go back through, start repurposing my own content, refreshing my own content. And then now I have the story, a message, and lesson to share with you all. So let's stop talking about the story and go ahead and get into it. So essentially, what is content repurposing? And that is how I like to think about it. It is a way for you to work smarter, not harder, by transitioning one piece of content. And then you take that and you then take all of the main points and fabulous things that you talked about in that piece of content, and you break that up into multiple different pieces of content to go across multiple different platforms. Okay. So you literally are just breaking up one big piece that you have into a bunch of different pieces. So kind of like how I was saying before with Instagram lives, what I was doing, how I was doing that one Instagram live, breaking it up into all of the different things. So really with content repurposing, a lot of the times, like the content that you are already making solely for one area, like if you are just making content for Instagram, it can definitely be used in other places. You could even be selling it in other places and maybe not even realize, because maybe you've never played around with content repurposing. Maybe you've like heard people talk about it, but you're like, okay, how do I actually do it type of thing. So that's what we're going to be talking about over here. And so following up to that is, okay, well, what types of content are good for repurposing? And essentially, kind of any piece of content that you have can be repurposed. If you are creating content, I 100% guarantee that it can be repurposed into another piece of content. It really just depends on your business goals, your business strategy, what you feel comfortable with, what is a little bit of an edge for you. And so, I mean, you can repurpose content to be, on social media, to be a blog, to be a freebie. I've talked about that before on the podcast, to be an email newsletter, an email sequence, which is what I was doing, course content, podcast episodes, video scripts. I mean, any type of content. I know there's people out there who like repurpose content to be like for their books. Like, that's genius. Who wants to sit there and write a whole book? Like, that can take years. But if you're repurposing from things that you already have, I mean, to me, that's a no-brainer. So essentially, like content that I have repurposed from before. So talking about books, I have a client who is an author, and I create all of her social media posts repurposed from her books that she has because she's like, I have spent so long writing these books. I don't want to write anything ever again. And that's totally accurate. Yes, you have spent years writing 2 books, so you shouldn't have to write social media posts or email newsletters because you have everything already right here for you. And then all of those things can then tie into selling your book, selling the things that you were talking about in your services from the book. So that is kind of like a glimpse into how I repurpose content for clients, so to say, if you are at all curious about that. And then now, if you are here, you are probably some type of business owner. So you probably are wondering, is content repurposing some type of strategy that I could use? Is this something that I should be doing? And essentially, if you are creating any type of content that is going out into the online space, not even, doesn't even have to be the online space, because if you're writing a book, probably getting printed, getting sent out. But yeah, honestly, anyone who is creating content can 100% be repurposing from it. I have even noticed influencers like repurposing content to where they will take, they'll chop up different bits of their reels and then they'll be sharing that on their stories. And since I have an eye for repurposing, I'm definitely noticing these things, but I don't think that the average, content consumer, so to say, is noticing these things. But I would say it is definitely specifically great for if you are creating long form content of any kind. So, if you are a podcaster, if you are a blogger, if you are a YouTuber, if you are a course creator, I mean, it is taking so much time for you to produce those pieces of content. There's really no reason why it shouldn't be repurposed at all. So I would say, I mean, it's a great strategy for anyone who's creating content to use, but it is a gold strategy if you are a long form creator, like I was just saying. So that's kind of like the baseline of repurposing, so to say. And essentially, why I'm so passionate about repurposing is there are so many different things that it can do for your business. And I feel like I maybe talked about this in an episode, but since I can't necessarily remember, that probably means that you all definitely don't remember either if I'm the one who's creating and consuming all my content. And then, but yeah, so the obvious reason to repurpose content, it is definitely going to broaden your reach. If you are taking an Instagram reel, you are repurposing that onto YouTube Shorts or onto Pinterest, then obviously you are going to be gaining the attention of a whole different community on a whole different platform, which has a whole new area of opportunities for you. You're going to be able to connect with more people because you are creating a new community. You're building a new community. You aren't just relying on one platform. And so that just increases your audience scope. So, maybe you have 1,200 followers on Instagram, but then you start showing up on YouTube or you start showing up on Pinterest or you start showing up on email, then that is building your community and you can add all those people together and then you have a whole, fun little team in the online space who's rooting for you. And that is awesome. So, yes, repurposing your content onto different platforms is definitely going to be broadening your reach. And I think that is something that a lot of business owners are striving for. Maybe that's not what we are striving for at the very beginning when you are just trying to like gain your footing, starting to, even see what platform you want to show up on at the beginning. You're just trying to get consistent in one space. But once you gain your footing in that one area, I know you are probably wanting to branch out from there. So if that's where you are at, I would definitely recommend repurposing your content. And it is, of course, going to save you time as well because you aren't spending as much time sourcing new ideas, creating those new ideas, doing all of the things because you are just editing the content that you already have. So you aren't spending as much time worrying about the content creation process because you already have the content that you already need. You already have that podcast episode sitting there for you. You don't need to record, new reels or write whole new emails. Like everything is literally there for you. You just have to need to know how to work with it, how to repurpose it, how to, you know, juice it up for whatever platform it is that you are working towards. And then another reason is it is definitely going to increase your conversion as well. And this is something that I want to talk more about on a later episode. But essentially, if you're repurposing your content, you are definitely repurposing a message that you feel strongly for. And it's going to be coming across that you are talking about that message a lot. You're going to then become known for talking about that thing. So, for example, pretty much all of my posts are about content repurposing. I do throw in more personal posts, some spiritual posts in there sometimes, but like it's very obvious to my community that I am working in content repurposing. That is what I do. I'm not an OBM, I'm not a website designer. I work with content and I repurpose your content. So when you are repurposing your message, repurposing your content, that is getting people to hear those messages from you multiple times, because that is what people need to hear to be able to recognize you as being the leader and the expert in your industry. Because if you only talk about something once and then you don't talk about it again for 3 more months, people have no idea that that is actually the thing that you do and why they should be hiring you to do that thing. So when you are increasing the amount of times that you're talking about your offer, your service, your training, your skills, your expertise, all of those fabulous things, then the more likely it is that people are going to work with you, because people just need to see things more than once. 100%. I think we can all agree with that. I mean, I think that the statistic is that, people need to see things like 7 times to like actually have it click or something like that. But yeah, and another fabulous reason to be repurposing your content is that it is a much more accessible way to be consuming content, because everyone learns and consumes things differently. Like if you think back to when you were in school, we learned about the different learning types. Some people learn best from, using their hands and actually doing the thing. Some people like to listen to a teacher, teaching a lesson, and they can grasp it from them. Other times, somebody might need to write a paper or they need to work on a worksheet to be able to do that. And that's the same when you are consuming content online, even if it's just a recipe for something. Some people want to watch a reel and watch how someone does it, and then that is golden for them. Other people need to read and see what it is, and then they've understood the message. Other people might just need to hear it. They're, driving to work or something, and then they're just listening to it, and then they've got it from there. And so when you are repurposing your content, you're putting it onto different platforms. That means you are putting it into different formats, which just makes it so much more accessible for everybody to be able to read, hear, see all of the things, because not all of us learn and consume in the same way. So for me personally, I am a reader. I like to read through things. I like to skim things. If I see something, written out, then that is how it is going to stay best for me in my brain. But, I recognize that not everybody is like that. So that's why I have things into reels. That's why I do these on video and I have them on YouTube as well, besides just having them as a podcast and as an audio for people to listen to. Because, it's 2023. We all are different. And that's what makes this world so beautiful and so fascinating and so fabulous. So I'm going to leave you all with that, with my little tangent of, content repurposing 101 and the basics of it all. And next time when I come to you, we can talk about, let's see, we can talk about, this is also something I haven't shared in a while, which is what I was sharing in that Instagram series that I was doing, is the feminine flow of content repurposing and how repurposing your content is a feminine strategy. And kind of once that clicked in my brain was when I was like, okay, I'm going full force into content repurposing. It's what I do. And yeah, so you can be looking out for that episode. But yeah, in the meantime, definitely reach out to me on Instagram, on email. I mean, I'm on so many different platforms these days. So, whatever platform you are hanging out on, send me a message. Let me know if there's any specific topics that you would like for me to cover in these episodes. Let me know if you have any specific questions you would like for me to cover. I would be more than happy to dive into that as well. Also, if you care to see any of my, like how I'm telling you these stories about how I'm repurposing content in my business, I would definitely recommend you get onto my email list because that is where I'm bringing a lot of my repurposing to life. So you can get onto my email list if you go to my website or if you go to my Instagram. I have a fun little content repurposing freebie checklist that you can download that will get you onto my email list. You'll also have a fun little gift to be playing with in there with a checklist. And yeah, I will be back with you all very soon. I can definitely promise you that because I already have the ideas in mind for these next few episodes. I'm very energized and excited to be sharing them with you. So I hope that you have a fabulous day and we will be talking very, very soon. Bye.